Hey butterflies, welcome to the Mental Health Comic Verse. Thank you so much for tuning in. So today I'll be doing an analysis of Black Widow and Black Widow and the Marvel Girls. In this first issue, she's interacting with Enchantress, who is an Asgardian god. So the storyline is about Black Widow on a mission as she experiences a PTSD-like scenario, and we see flashbacks of her in the Red Room. The Red Room is a Soviet brainwashing and training program that takes young women and turns them into assassins, which of course is Black Widow's history. And PTSD can occur not just with obviously dangerous situations like war and abuse, but also accidents or the death of a loved one. So it's important to be aware of it because people do struggle with PTSD without realizing it, and not everyone seeks therapy or tries to be self-aware to that extent, especially because avoidance of the trauma itself is also a symptom of PTSD. There are multiple symptoms to PTSD aside from reliving the trauma, which is why I said PTSD-like. And here she's triggered by words, but it can really be anything from similar situations, colors, smells, songs, places, people, anything. So we see her in training as this frail young girl, and every time she fails, she's belittled as miserable. When she screams, their response is, miserable. You allow pain to have your voice. Natasha's story is one of having to unlearn and deprogram everything from the Black Widow program, which isn't far off from all of us. Our mind is programmed through our upbringing, our family, our society, community, school, media, and we think we're in control, but we're on autopilot with our subconscious running the show. Even with Natasha, who escaped from her programming, there are still certain aspects that are instilled in her, like how she comes across cold at times or holding back her emotional response, because it's been programmed in her that allowing her pain to have a voice makes her weak. This is that type of programming that makes people say, you're a little bitch if you cry. You're a little bitch if you can't handle whatever life throws at you. And ironically, it's the people who speak this way who are the little bitches. Not to be condescending, it's just the truth. Because somewhere along their path, someone told them to suck it up and keep going without showing weakness when they felt like it. So now they project that onto everyone else, right? It's easy to say, well, I see what you're saying, so I'll be nicer to people who are openly emotional, which is great, but that's just one part of it. And the point I'm making is not for you to heal others or to be nicer to others, but to heal yourself. Because when you show yourself compassion, mercy, and accept your own emotional reactions and responses, you automatically understand and respect another's emotions. You don't need to try. Allowing your pain to have a voice is how you express and release, which is a normal human reaction. So when you suppress that, you're not just biting your tongue and sucking it up, you're also adding to your shadow side and preventing yourself from moving forward, because that becomes trapped energy, believe it or not, causing disease. So next, Enchantress enters the Red Room to help Nat break out, and when she says, I don't have a choice, Enchantress offers her first lesson, that pretty girls always have a choice. That's the other type of magic. I'm going to put aside the fact that she's being held captive because this doesn't apply to extreme situations like this or human trafficking, but generally speaking, we see this in most things that we watch since forever, right? Women using their feminine power and sensuality to persuade or maneuver through situations. But that's not what we're really talking about here, because Enchantress is a seductress in the pursuit of power and pleasure. This is an interesting topic because her approach has kind of been a rising epidemic, right? I'm not here to say there's anything wrong with stripping, being a sex worker, or anything like that. Your body, your choice, no judgment. It is referred to the oldest profession in the world after all. My point is, we have to be careful of how we find our power and pleasure, because it restricts us into believing that there's only this way of obtaining power. And we have so much more fucking magic in us than being a seductress. Don't let your environment, your past experiences, or anyone, don't let it prevent you from stepping into your authentic power. Everyone was speaking on toxic masculinity for a while, which is actually just the patriarchal system. And that's where toxic femininity comes in as well. Women don't just wake up saying, fuck everyone, I'm gonna use people and get my way. It's through that experience of being used and abused. In my eyes, when we step into the shadow or toxic aspect, that's when you allow the patriarchy to win. They don't want you to thrive on your sensual feminine power. They want you to be the bitter old queen who takes part in the system. You may feel like you're the queen, queen, but you're actually a pawn. And again, that's not to be condescending. It's just saying when you step into that type of role, you're choosing to be part of the game when in reality, you can create your own game. The feminine power resides in the sacral chakra, the womb, which is the creative force, the emotions, and sensuality. So when you say fuck everyone, say it in a way where you don't care what anyone says or thinks and you create your own lane, because you are literally a creative force whether you recognize it yet or not. You are more than capable of awakening that force within you. In a realistic sense, yes, we are all part of this game, this matrix, or whatever you want to call it, but my point is the true queen knows that we don't need to be a part of that game. You don't need to feel like you have to knock others down, use them, or manipulate them in order to rise and obtain power. True power knows that I am a creative force and whatever I build through my essence will thrive. Weakness will have you feeling like I have to exert my influence and power so people know that I'm not to be fucked with. That's false power. That's that Trump power. You want to embody Rihanna essence. She just minds her business and lives her life, and look at all that sacral feminine power that exudes off of her, and people just love her. And this message is for the queens, but it does apply to the kings as well. So moving on, Nat asks Enchantress why she's doing this, and she says she was bored and saw an opportunity for a few explosions, and asks her, do you like them? And when Nat says yes, they're beautiful, Enchantress says exactly. Beauty makes everything worthwhile. A man will sell his loyalty for gold, but he'll sell his soul for beauty and love. I do agree with this because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? You may betray people or yourself for money, kind of like in How I Met Your Mother. Marshall's dream is to be an environmental lawyer, but he struggles so much financially that he ends up working for the bad guys. But it's the desire for what we see beauty in that we become willing to sell our soul, even unintentionally, because I heard love makes you do crazy things, right? So she's talking about beauty in the explosion. People have heart eyes for destruction, or power through destruction, power through domination, power through influence. Or even aside from power, we see beauty in a certain lifestyle, whether that's comfortably living by the beach or flexing on the gram. We all have a certain vision and see beauty in what we desire. And the question isn't, are you willing to sell your soul for it? Because that's for the destructive people, okay? The question is, are you going to believe that you have to sell your soul in order to get that? And that's where standing in your authentic power comes into play. Because once you know who you are and what you're capable of being and creating, no one can sell you a dream to have love or take your soul from you in exchange for what you desire. That's all an illusion derived from fear. Don't let your fear win. You got this. So back to present day Black Widow, she has information that isn't in the files, which she says she obtained because the security is a man and she is a woman. This is the typical example in movies of how women use their feminine power to get information. And we also see how she was taught to use her beauty to her advantage through her past. I know some guys have a perception that all women or a certain type of women are all deceptive or gold diggers, but that's not the case, just like how not all men are manipulative or cheaters, right? So back to the flashback, Enchantress promises to teleport her away once she makes it to the fence, but instead she betrays her and says, I lied. Never rely on beauty, it lies. So again, a very harsh lesson that plays a role in Black Widow then using her beauty to deceive and retrieve information. And of course, there's a lot of truth to this, but to the men, it's important to heal from your past experiences so you don't pass off that hurt onto everyone and end up missing on a good connection. And to the women, there's more to us than using beauty to be deceptive, and we can end up messing up a good connection through that belief. And when we're deceived, we tend to go into defense mode to protect ourselves, but remember that once we experience betrayal, we become more aware of the signs and gain wisdom through that, so we're not leading with the same naive past self. And I know sometimes we unintentionally go from one cheating relationship to another, or from one gold digging relationship to another, and usually it progressively gets worse with each one to the point of letting that shadow feminine or shadow masculine loose. But that's why self-awareness and self-love is so important, so that you can actually learn that lesson. Acknowledge that shadow self and reaction who's hurting. Be aware of your subconscious so that you're not going to be drawn to the same energy over and over again. It's not fair to you to live in fear, wondering who's going to betray me next. Beauty does lie, but beauty is also in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes we do get blindsided, but sometimes we're just so blinded by the beauty that we seek. Not just physically, but they may portray themselves to be everything that you desire, so you fall head over heels without question. I can run through so many scenarios because everything is circumstantial, but my point is, if you're self-aware and actively working to heal yourself, part of that journey is to also trust and have faith in yourself and in your own wisdom. So I hope you butterflies step into your authentic power, embrace your creative force, women or man, and perceive beauty from a genuine place. All right, so that's everything. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay fly and free, and I'll see you guys next time.